Welcome back, traders, to the channel. Today we're talking about SOFI Technologies, which is up over 90% this year and fresh off explosive Q3 earnings, but suddenly this plunging. And the reason is dilution. Late yesterday, SOFI announced a $1.5 billion public offering, roughly 54 million new shares at $27. That bombshell triggered a swift sell-off, with the stock sliding over 7% in the pre-market. Let's break down the critical technical levels of where the smart money might make its move. So first of all, let's analyze the daily chart, which is a major overall trend. We can see that the stock has been finding a very important consolidation zone here around the ranges of $32 and between $23, so around a $10 zone. We have seen that this momentum has been slowing down after such an amazing increase of price action ever since the April lows, and we've been seeing nothing but increased momentum. Now, the stock is looking a little bit overextended here if we look at important areas. We are not too far off from our price target of around $39 here on the stock, which is where I believe that it should be trading fundamentally. Now, looking here, we can see that we are below, if we remove these lines here, we are below the key indicator of the 50 MA, which is a very important indicator because it shows the overall momentum and the strength of the buyers. If we are below it, we fall below it, that means that there's weakness behind it, right? So for example, during this time that we fell below, we saw some weakness, and then when we got above it, we saw more strength there, but now we are again below the 50 MA. Something I want to really acknowledge here is that we are going to be having very important areas of support here if the stock decides to pull back. So, for example, we do have our support level at around $25.56, which this is closely going to be aligned with the very important Fibonacci level. If we use from the high towards this current low that we formed at this support level, it's going to be here exactly around $25.71. So what I would expect to see over the next coming of trading sessions or days would be something like this. So we see a pullback, a little undercut, trick people that we're going to go, they're going to be like a short sale, and then that's where it finds the buyers of momentum, and then it triggers towards the upside, that has that little curl where it goes towards the price targets that we have on the stock, right? So that could be one of the options. Now, if it does decline even further, this would be another area of support, which would be around this general zone here around $23.61, because it was an overall level where we saw a lot of volume in this hammer candle. And also, if we look at this anchored VWAP, it's triggered from when we finally got above the anchored VWAP high here, and that was pretty much overall the handoff that continued towards the upside and found that bounce. Now, if there's even more bearishness, then I see the level going towards $21.96, which is a 200 EMA. And generally, this is where most of the longer-term trends tend to find support if there's a lot of weakness up here, because this is the overall longer-term trend of the 200. And we technically don't want to fall below it because it does trigger here a lot of selling, and a lot of people get stop loss here at these very important lows. So like I said, two areas of support actually, more like three. So $25.71 has support to buy, $23.61 and 200 EMA of $21.96 here on SoFi. Now let's transition towards the hourly chart here on SoFi. We can see that we had a little bit of a bullish crossover, and that's where we saw the momentum increase. But now we're potentially maybe seeing a bearish crossover, which is where the overall short-term moving average crosses below the 200 EMA or the longer-term moving average, right? So this may be the initiation of more downside correction, which is exactly what we need to get to the levels of support that we have marked of 25.71 and then the levels of 23.61. Also, if we use anchored VWAP, let's say from important highs or lows, if we'd say we go for this low, we can see here, for example, that we fell below it, right? We're not holding it, so the buyers are not in control yet. They were here in control as long as we were above that overall anchored VWAP here. So during this time, the steady uprise, we found resistance here for some reason, and now we're bidding down. We can also use like I said, the overall fixed range volume profile, so get from the low all the way toward the current price levels, and the overall sellers have control ever since the levels of around $29.32. So we'll put that as red to signify the selling and resistance there. So that is where the buyers have lost control, because this point of control was won by the overall sellers that are in the stock, and also the triggering of the sell-off was very, very important here. Although if we look here at the financials, the quarterly, for example, they're making money each time. We got their net margins finally being actually profitable here, 13%. And the stock is up 84% year to date, which is just phenomenal returns here, obviously outperforming the overall S&P 500 and including the overall NASDAQ here. Now, looking at the 5-minute chart here on SoFi, we can see that there is a little bullish trend trying to form, right? Because we have the formations of the overall higher lows, for example, higher low here, higher low there, and higher high momentum. This does signify that we do see an upward trend, although we may find short-term resistance at the current 200 EMA at the 5-minute, which is around $28. And we also may find resistance from the prior VWAPs from other days at around 28.36 here. But so far, the stock is triggering enough buying pressure to continue its momentum. If we use a pre-market point of control momentum here, we can see that if the buyers do, or as long as we sustain above $27.41, I am going to be biased towards the bullish side. I should be buying the stock, and there's no reason to short this name, right? So anytime we are, above, two important indicators like the 50 and this point of control, we tend to be bullish biased, and we do not want to short, because the momentum is in the favor of the bulls here. So here's a bottom line. SoFi's sudden offering has shaken the market, but moments like these separate emotional reactions from strategic decisions. Whether this dip becomes a launch pad or a deep correction does depend on how the stock reacts at those key support levels that we covered. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you never miss urgent market updates like this. And drop a comment below. Are you buying this dip, holding tight, or waiting for lower levels? I want to hear your take. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't let the markets whip you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one.